Rogash from MPW Performance and Race Fab down in Keysborough, Victoria. This video is to celebrate the unveil of our new Capri. So this Capri is dubbed STRIPSHOW. The reason for that, for you guys who don't know us or what we've done in the past, I had a VT Commodore all dressed up as a VX Club Sport, which went 780 at 180 mile an hour, and that was no show. Then I went over to a twin turbo based VK Group A Blue Meanie, and that is all show. And that car's gone 750 at 190 mile an hour, twin turbo LS 427Q. We decided it's time to step it up. So basically over COVID, we put a lot of money back into tooling and everything in the shop. We couldn't get parts, we had trouble getting supply of things. So we decided to start doing a lot of things in-house. So we put in chassis tables, big weld tables, new welders, new folding equipment, CNC plasmas, 3D scanners, basically everything we need to go front to back of the car. So this was our example of us building a car front to back in-house. The plan for this, everybody asks, what do we hope to get out of this and where do we want to be? Basically, eventually I'd like to run a mid-6 at over 200 mile an hour out of this car would be perfect. Obviously that's going to take some doing. 100-inch wheelbase is going to be pretty hard to get down the track, but look, we have the right team behind us to make all of that happen. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through, and my wife and kids are going to ask some questions about this car. So they helped me build the car. Over the last 6 months, all of our family time has been spent in the workshop or in this shed trying to get this car together. So they're going to ask me some questions about why we chose different things for the car, what we've put in it, give you guys a rundown on what the car actually is and what we're running in it. So before we get stuck into that and all the boring talk and everything and you guys lose interest, I want to put a huge thanks to Chris Cuttajar. Out of everybody that has helped on this car, he has been there basically every weekend. I get a phone call every second day. As I said, we've done all of this after hours. None of it's been done during work hours, as we've got a lot of customers' jobs to get on top of. So what Chris hasn't helped in physical work, he's been there as mental support. So as I said, he's kept me pushing. Try and get a 596 cube twin turbo big block into a Capri and keep it on that borderline of being engineered, and it's a hard job. So I've thrown my toys out of the cot quite a few times throughout this build. I'm sure Kelly agrees with that. But Chris has been there to help out, so huge thanks to Chriso. I must go ahead and thank Frank from Dandy Engines as well. Frank has shown a lot of interest in the car. He's been there to A, help me source the motor, B, help me source the transmission, and just model support along the way. We've got Jamie from Raceworks. So the whole car is plumbed up front to back using Raceworks fittings and Premier Auto Trade parts. Now, Jamie is local to Melbourne. He's just around the corner from my shop. We would call him, and at 8 o'clock at night, on his way home from work, he was dropping parts into the shop. If he didn't have them, they were getting drop shipped the next day from wherever they were coming from. And we managed to get this thing through on a tight deadline. So huge thanks to Jamie and the Raceworks team as well. Scotty Cortina at Gazard Brothers, we're running his shocks on all four corners. Again, huge thanks to Scotty for looking after us, getting us shocks down and springs. Now, that's about the point where I say none of this is about money. These guys haven't gone into their pockets and thrown out. It is the extra support that I get from having such good relationships with all of these guys. So Scotty Cortina, we needed parts, they were there. Same as Raceworks, same as Frank at Dandy, same as everyone that we've used. Cameron at Rosebud Panels, we'll get more in depth about him soon, but huge thank you. The guy knocked it out of the park. He's a one-man band down there in Rosebud, and I think the car speaks for itself. We've got all of the MPW guys, so Abe and Joey especially, mate, they have knocked this out of the park. They've donated their own time and been working around the clock to help us out as well. James at Pulsar Turbo, huge thank you to him as well. Gave us a big choice. We'll get more into that later on, but gave us a choice of whatever we needed out of them guys and got the perfect turbo for the job over. We've got all the guys at Racer Industries, especially Richard, really helping out and being in the circuit car field. We've learnt a lot of different ways to do things. Instead of where we just used to use certain parts, we've found other parts that we can use, which we found slightly better. But we'll get more into that a little bit later as well. So we've got Haltech. Again, we'll get into Haltech, but a personal thanks to Matt Whiting and Scott Hilsinger from Haltech. Absolute awesome guys, and have been the biggest help on this car. Guys at TurboSmart, always there. All of the boost control on this car is TurboSmart gear. Guys at Plasma Man, thanks heaps to Shannon the Ranger. He's, every time we need something like clamps or whatever, they're drop shipped the next day. So Alex, thanks man, awesome intake and awesome clamps and everything on this car. So we'll get into it. There will be people that I forget. We're flying off the seat of our pants at the moment. We haven't written anything down. The girls are just going to ask some questions and we'll see how we go. So what have we read on social media, Cal, that you think needs to be asked?
First question is, how did the idea for the Capri come about?
I would say the idea was yours, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I wanted to do a Fox body Mustang. So after working with Jason Way from Tough Mounts and doing Fox Sake, I fell in love with the Fox body Mustang. So I was looking around, I almost purchased one, and Cal didn't like that platform as much, so Cal fell in love with Paul Hamilton's XA when we took that job on. Cal has always liked old school chrome bumper cars, and when I explained that I wanted to do a smaller car, Cal wanted to do a Kingswood, so we were looking at HKTGs at some point, and Cal loves HQs. So we were going to go down that path, which I'm sure we'll still do at some stage, but I wanted to build a smaller car with a big block in it. So Cal's always loved Capris, and this one just managed to pop up. So what made the deal even sweeter was it's an engineered, naturally aspirated big block. So half of the hard work's already done. We still had to keep everything up to spec and go through with that, but we ended up with an engineered big block Capri. When we started the car, it was pretty rough, and I still hold it against Cal for the sleepless nights and extra work we had to do. I don't think the Fox body would have been anywhere near as hard, but we're there and we've got something to show for it. So that's where the Capri come from.
You mentioned the block. Can you tell us about the engine and why you chose that one?
So what happened with the engine was mid-COVID. So everybody asks why it's not a powerhouse-based engine. Are we still using Johnny at Powerhouse? The answer is yes. So we send a lot of engines to Frankston Engines, Powerhouse Engines, and Dandy Engines. We've got a lot of jobs on at the shop, so we share them around. Now, when I was speaking to Johnny about doing the motor for this, as he does the Engine for All show, we didn't have a block. I didn't want to put an iron block in it, and I decided to call Frank. So when I rang Frank and asked him if he had a block, what his time frame was in putting an engine together for us, and that kind of gear, we basically got told, good luck finding a block. There's none in the country. There's none in existence at the moment. We hung up from Frank. I started thinking, do I just go to an iron block? What do we do? And Frank rang me back. So Frank had an engine that belonged to Darren Mood, which had just come off of the engine dyno, and Darren wanted to go down the path of a 481X. So we ended up with a freshly rebuilt 596 cube, Brodix blocked, big block with some profiler cylinder heads on it. So it's a 10.2 deck height, 596 cubes, profiler cylinder heads, dry sump, Plasma Man intake. I negotiated a deal with Darren. I bought the motor off of him, and that's where all of this started. So we ended up building the Capri around that, basically. And
how was the engine mounted?
So that was a big question that I've read a lot on social media, that you can't have an engine plated car and keep it registered or roadworthy. That's where I rang Jason from Tough Mounts, and the next day I had parts dropped over to me. Huge thanks to Jason, always really beneficial to our team and to all of the jobs we do. Jay sent me over some billet extrusion, I guess you can call it, which we actually welded into the engine plate, and it's got non-thane bushes which go in for street, engineering, roadworthy, all that kind of gear. And then on our race days, we can actually pop 4 bolts out, take the polyurethane bushes out and then put the solid aluminium bushes back in, therefore making it a solid mounted engine. So that gives us everything on this car is a fine line between street and race. And that gives us that fine line that's very easy to change out.
What transmission are we running?
So again, speaking to Frank about what trans they would like to put behind this engine, Frank basically said an M&M is the only choice. So Steve Bazzina had a spare trans, so I ended up purchasing Steve's 2-speed Mark Mickey Turbo 400 off of him. Frank sold us a Mark Mickey or M&M bolt together converter for it, and that coupled everything together quite nicely. Now joining that to the rear end is a GJ Driveline's Carbon Series tail shaft. Now, Anthony and Matt at GJ Drivelines, as soon as I got them a measurement, which is just over 1 metre long, by the way, as soon as I got them a measurement, I had a phone call the next day, come and pick it up, and it was all done for me. So we actually took that, the car was in the paint shop when that got done. I took it over to the paint shop, put it on their scales, and the whole tail shaft, including billet yoke, 1350 uni at the rear, 1350 at the front, weighed 6.12 kilos. So for all of you guys wondering how light carbon tail shafts are, that's where we're at.
We know how much you love turbos, Dad, so what turbo does this one run?
So we've got Pulsar G57 98mm turbos on this. Another question, so why did we run the Pulsars? I've got a really good personal relationship with James, so that was a really good idea for us. We've used them in the shop. We haven't had any failures with them. We've made very good power. We've got lots of proven results from that base turbo. So when we spoke to James, we were wondering how large we went on this turbo. We ended up going down the path of G57 98mm comp wheels.
What management system are we running?
It's a big word for a 9-year-old. So we are running Haltech. Everyone who knows me or knows my workshop knows all of my previous cars. Again, personal relationships with the boys at Haltech. Scotty, Matty Whiting, Richard Schumack, all of the guys down there, and gals with Anna. Look, we've got a very good relationship with those guys. So for me, I didn't put a second thought into it. We've gone with basically everything from the middle of the Haltech catalogue to the end. When we spoke to mainly Matt and Scott and said, look, we're going to be building a new car, it's big block based, this is where we're at. They got pretty excited and they said, look, what's your time frame? We're coming out with some new products. We really want to get them into the car, and it actually all fell into place. So the car's running a Nexus R5 for everything forwards of the pillar and a PD16 for everything rearwards of the pillar. When I say that, headlights, indicators, hazards, obviously, our chute, so when I say our parachute, the parachute handle is all set up on CO2. Our boost control, our engine, 16 injectors, front shock travel sensors, our laser ride height sensor is all ran via a Nexus R5. Everything backwards of that pillar, so tail lights, rear indicators, street fuel pumps, our parachute mechs, so we've got CO2 chutes on here, so our parachute mechs, our rear shock travel sensors, our speed sensors, they're all ran via a PD16. Now that is literally linked together via a CAN cable. So we've got 4 wires running front to back. Let us keep everything nice and neat and tidy. And it's all controlled via a CAN keypad. So you'll see, we'll throw some overlaid footage, but it actually has a 3x5 CAN keypad button. We can click through anything we want, indicators, boost up and down, whatever we need to do. Now the really handy thing with doing that is it's not just boost up and down. If we get up to the start line and the guy in front of us blows tyres off, or we end up coming up, so we're racing heads up and we end up next to somebody, the track's on kill, and we can actually step up through our tunes without plugging the laptop into this. So basically what I do is I have 9 different tunes set up in the ECU. I know what each of them is. They progressively get stronger as the number gets higher. I have a telltale on my IC7 dash, and I can just come in and I might go, I'm on tune 4, let's go up to tune 5 or even tune 6 and get the car down the track, or vice versa. The track's gone off, there's just been an oil down. Instead of trying to plug a laptop in while you're staging, literally come back, knock it down a couple of tunes, and we might know, okay, so with All Show, for instance, we know that setting 4 is going to go out and run a 780. Setting 5 is going to be just into the 70s. Setting 6 is into the 60s, given the perfect pass or the perfect world. But as I say, that's how simple it is for us just to change tune-ups in that car.
What rear end are we running?
So, as we described before, this is us showing what we can do in-house with all of our new equipment. So we've got a sheet metal 9-inch that we've finished fabricating in-house, put all of our bracketry and everything onto. It's running a 4-link setup with a shorter top arm, so a radial bracket setup. And it's got race products floaters, so we're still 35 spline because the car is so light, but we've got a strange aluminium bolt through centre with a 3.5 rear gear, so a 9.5 Pro gear.
What colour have we chosen and what brand of paint?
What colour did you choose, Al?
Blue.
So that's pretty much why we chose the colour blue. I went through, Callie wanted to paint it green. Do you want to elaborate?
Oh, I think it's nice to keep cars original, don't you?
Well, so the car was originally green with orange stripes, wasn't it, Cal?
It was really nice, and even when Adam was putting the old screws back in, I wanted to keep the little bits of paint on the screws, and he ended up cleaning it all off.
And this is coming from the person who's actually kept the boot hinges and kept the original fuel flap just for memories.
Yeah. And we made use of the keys, didn't we?
We have. But, so long story short, I spent most of my time up at MotorX having a look at different cars, what colour I wanted to go. In all honesty, I wanted to go Nardo Grey. Then I've seen a lot of Nardo cars out there. I went to a darker pastel grey. A good friend of mine, Troy David, got Pro J. So that car really sells the black and grey theme for me. As I said, I started seeing a lot of them around. So I contacted the guys from Hammer Coatings. So Cam Wood at Rosebud Panels said, look, get on to the boys at Hammer Coatings. They will be able to mix up some colours and help us out with that. So after speaking to Laura, she kept on flicking some colours and some samples and some spray outs over to us. And we ended up coming up with literally the perfect blue. So it's what we call electric blue, and it's got a dark base underneath it. So Cameron refused to paint candy because he knows how hard I am on my cars. So this is not a candy, but it looks like a candy, thanks to the guys at Hammer Coatings.
Who painted the car?
So Cameron Wood at Rosebud Panels. That guy has been super helpful. It is now the 3rd of May. We're unveiling this car in a couple of days, so this has to be into the showgrounds in 2 days for Maguire's MotorX. And Cameron has literally just left here, so it's a Wednesday night and he's been here putting stickers, wiper arms, just getting some decals and stuff like that onto the car for us. But he took the car on. I got the car stripped off to bare metal, got everything straightened up. The body was pretty rough. We repaired all the rust and everything in it, and we got it over to Cameron. So it was really exciting getting phone calls and photos and everything every day and seeing the progress that he made. He's the only guy I know that works as hard as I do and has as much lack of respect for himself as I do. So we were still there early hours of the morning. I'd finish at work, head over there, work through the night, get a few hours sleep, head back to work. On weekends, he allowed myself, my wife, the kids, everything into his shop to help him out, rub things back and get it done. So highly recommended, and have a look at the results.
What seats and interior have we gone with?
So this leads us into our friends over at Racer Industries. So this is where we found a lot of different things from circuit racing that we brought over into drag racing. Now I'll start off with the fire system. We run fire systems in all of our big high-end Andra and IHRA cars, but they got us onto a Lifeline system, which they actually charge in-house and everything. Now it has been the easiest fire system we've ever fitted. It was the most user-friendly, probably the most compact, and it ticks all of the rules that we need to tick for drag racing as well. They got us quite a while ago when we met Richard and the guys, we got onto Racetech seats. So you'll notice a lot of our big builds have Racetechs in them. I didn't want to put Kirkies in this. As I'm getting old now, my kidneys aren't as soft as they used to be. Drag challenge kills me every year in Kirkies. So we went down the path of some Racetechs. Now, for the fact that I want to drive this car on the street, and have it engineered and registered, I couldn't put a 25.5 or 25.2, or as people would know it, a funny car cage into the car. So the Racetechs allowed us to have a little bit more head restraint and a bit more protection for safety. They've also got us onto floor-mounted Tilton pedal boxes. So this is running a Tilton floor-mounted 600 series pedal box, which you'll notice we've actually been able to incorporate in, put a carpet panel over the top of it and keep it very streetable. We've ran one of their ADR approved Woodward collapsible steering columns in the car. So you'll notice that it actually has a collapsible section down through the firewall. It's all mounted by billet aluminium, and it's just a nice looking piece of kit. Haltech dash fits straight onto it. We've also got Motion Raceworks billet cup holders because street car, why not? We've got a Motion Raceworks operator 2-speed shifter with an electronic solenoid for upshift. So as far as the rest of the interior goes, Callie tried her hand at carpeting. Something she's never done before, but I'm sure when you see it, you'll agree it's come up a treat. You're proud of what you've achieved.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun doing it. It's a new trade to me, frustrating at times, but it's been really nice completing something together.
And just for the record, I wasn't the only one throwing my toys out of the cot. Cal was coming home looking like a gorilla with all of the carpet stuck to her hands and adhesive sprays on everything.
It does stick to everything.
Now, I left the interior up to Cal to sort out, so that was Cal's domain. As I say, carpet, Cal did floor pans, all that kind of stuff in it. She's never done sheet metal before, and with a bit of guidance, she killed it. So, as far as the trim goes, Cal worked in with Jess from Pro Street Interiors, and Jess went through, and anything that you see that needed to be stitched was done by Jess and the team at Pro Street Interiors. So the dash, our door cards, and our centre console panel was all done over at Pro Street, and then Cal fitted it up when we got the stuff home, so on the final fitment.
So, Dad, what wheels have you gone with?
So this is our chance to launch that we are Kaiser Australia, or Kaiser Drag Wheels Australia. Kaiser's an American brand, and Wade and the guys over there are super helpful to deal with, and they put out a great product. So with this, we've gone with a set of 15x14 Burt rears and 17-inch Burt fronts, which we run a 31 and a half by 12.5 W as our big tyre, and we run a 315 60-15 Pro radial when we're radial racing. So the car is set up with wheelie bars for no prep. We wanted to make sure, when Cal and I discussed building another car, we didn't want to have to build another car in the next 5 years. So no prep's getting big over here. We wanted to set this up for both. So we've got 2 sets of Gazzard shocks, and we can swap them out, different lengths, different valving. We can swap them out whether we're running big tyre or whether we're running radial. So, yeah. And
lastly, what companies have helped us out, and who would we like to thank?
Look, I went into a lot of these guys at the start. We'll flick everyone's logos through, but as I say, we've got TurboSmart, Haltech, Plasma Man, Dandy Engines. We've got Steve at Vision Signs. We've got Cameron Wood Rosebud Panels. We've got Jason from Tough Mounts. We've got the boys at MPW, obviously. I can't stress enough, I am super lucky to be surrounded by the people that I'm surrounded by. The car shows it. As I say, I'm surrounded by some of the best tradesmen in the industry, and we're very grateful for that. Thanks Abe and Joey. Can't thank those boys enough. James at Pulsar Turbo. We've had the guys down at Racer Industries constantly helping out. Raceworks, Premier Auto Trade. look, the list goes on. If I've forgotten anyone, I'm sorry, but as I say, everyone will be tagged in what we're doing. So I must say thanks. If you can't make it down to Motorex this weekend and see the car being unveiled, come and see us at the pits. This is our R&D car, but what this allows us to do is let you guys get to know us. Come and see us when we're racing. Say good day. If you see the car out, come and check it out. It's out there for everyone to see. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and if there's anything else you want to see, let us know. We are about to get it into a trailer and get it in and get Corey to start detailing it. So the car hasn't been buffed yet. It will be getting buffed and detailed at Motorex on Friday. That's how tight we're cutting this deadline. So it'll be a huge thanks to Corey on that one as well. But thanks, guys.